My name is Greg Swan, and this is my son, Drew. Thanks for saying his name. I love this kid. He was my number one. It was the happiest day of my life when he was born. He was larger than life, and he ended up, he was my best friend. Drew was, I poured everything into Drew that I knew about life, and that my mother, would teach me about what the positive things of life, because, life can really smack you in the face. No, everybody knows that here. But anyway, I got a call on April 3rd, 2013 from my son, Jack. I had two boys, and I was sleeping, and my wife said, pick that up. That's the second time it rang. It ran on our house phone. That's your cell phone. That's bad news, actually. And I picked it up, and my son, Jack, blurted out, Dad, are you sitting down? I'm like, no, I'm sleeping. What's going on? He goes, I need you to be sitting down right now. And he didn't sound like himself, and I was starting to figure out that something really bad was going on. And I sat up in bed, and I said, say it. He said, Drew's dead. A great mom was a speaker up here recently, and she talked about that guttural scream that parents let out when they find that out. And it's animalistic. It's from ages past. It goes back to the beginning of time. And EMTs will say all parents that we witness make the same sound. It's not even a scream. It's a sound, and it's bad. I'm really surprised, my wife even survived just that moment. But after that, I'm surprised I survived what I told God. I said, oh, nice work. We're breaking up. I'm done with you. You took my number one. You can go pound it. And every F word in the book, and my finger to the sky, and I went to see Jack, and I just, became crazy. And after I was my crazy stage and the funeral stage and all that crap, I went into like 10 years of just being sad. It was April 3rd, the day he died, for anybody who's a nerd who wants to look it up. That's the same day Jesus died, April 3rd. I was a mess. I got my wife in 2018 to run for Congress. We got something called the Support Act passed. It was semi-helpful. There's an amendment recently made for that act called Bruce's Law. One of our co-founders, Sandy Snodgrass, wrote it for her son, and that passed. That's support for fentanyl education in high schools. And that's what we do. But I was never happy after that. I was done. I remember as a kid, I saw a girl killed in front of me. Her name was Laura Carey. I was coming home from a baseball game, and it was right in front of me, and my mom and I saw it, and I didn't know it was Laura at the time, but her mother lived behind us. And every Sunday in church, I would see Mrs. Carey, and the circles under her eyes would get deeper and deeper and deeper. And I just made a mental note to myself that the parents of losing a child are done. That bullet takes out not just the kid, it takes out both parents too. And I just filed that away as a fact of life until it happened to me. And I thought, well, am I done? I was done. I was pretty much a zombie. I could cry a river. It's just last week, I heard this sound of a game called Putt Putt's Parade. And it was Drew's favorite game. He was a little guy. And he comes to me in dreams in all different ages. And it just sent me down the rabbit hole of grief. And my day was done, and I just was depressed, I noticed, for the rest of the week. But I got going and got working again. I would like to take a moment to thank April Babcock for setting this up. This is an amazing event, and I put April on my Mount Rushmore of this movement, along with people like Ann Funder, Derek Maltz, and of course the Godfather, Ed Bish, who started this whole thing and got a Supreme Court decision. I mean, these are rock stars that are here. Sarah Carter was here last night. It was great. We got a little attention. We got something done with at the White House. It was bizarre meeting the president. Everything in the room, in the East Room, went quiet, and all you could hear was the clang of his balls as he walked down the hall and walked into the room. And he's got a talent for making you feel normal. But when I had a moment with him, I just said, Mr. President, the bereaved parents are the linchpin of young people paying attention. And he's a good listener, and he jumped all over that, and he said, no, I totally agree. He goes, we love our law enforcement. We love them, but they don't listen to them. Kids don't listen to them. They listen to you guys. And, he encouraged me and said my son didn't die in vain, and he got rushed by all the gals on stage. And April was there. Ann was there. Ann was a great speaker. But what I discovered in 2022, I thought, it felt good to advocate and get a law done, but I knew we were being gaslit as a country. I knew that that nobody was really addressing this issue. If you said fentanyl, it was like whistle blowing for the borders open, and you couldn't say it because of the word police at the time. So I thought, man, if we don't warn kids, we're dead. I think of a couple of quotes from Winston Churchill. I was raised by a Brit, but Winston Churchill said, it's no use to say I'm doing the best job I can. You must succeed in doing what is necessary. Of course, he said that during a time of war, and if you didn't do what was necessary, you were going to concede, to Hitler. Another quote he said is, the price of greatness is responsibility. I think of a scripture quote that we use internally, which is Proverbs 24, verse 11 and 12, which says, hold back those staggering toward the slaughter. Stop those going towards certain death. If you claim it's not your responsibility, God, who knows all hearts, knows yours, and he knows you knew. And it's sad, it's sad enough that we lost our kids, but we know that kids are walking the plank into certain death, into a buzzsaw. I remember when we started Fentanyl Fathers, which is something I co-founded. I called the Narcan people, and one of the guys, Adam Havey, he went to my high school. So he got right back to me. He goes, I called you right back because I knew that every 6 minutes somebody dies, and timing was of the essence. It was in the middle of a December break. And I said, listen, we got to get moving. Like, this is 2022. Nobody's died in 2023, which was a record year. It's, the last several years have gone 107, 110, 104. Last year, everybody's bragging about, breaking a rotator cuff, patting themselves on the back, saying 80,000's low. I mean, this is still way beyond anything for anybody else. At our school assemblies, that's what we do. We throw up a stat, and we take the Vietnam War, 9/11, childhood cancer, all these famous deaths, all drunk driving, all in. Add it all up, it's all less than 1 year's worth of overdose poisonings, murders. Take your pick of the word there, mostly the latter two. And it's all driven, 75% of that's driven by fentanyl. My son was told on his toxicology report by the coroner that he most likely died of fentanyl because he had a therapeutic amount of methadone in his system, and there was a lot of precursors involved, and Jim was up here, talking about it if you guys were taking notes or following him. But, he's dead, and the pain that I experienced, I was at his funeral, I said, I'm hurting in places that I didn't even know I had places. I literally consider myself kind of a shallow person, just kind of a jokey guy. And when I got stung that way, I was gutted. So anyway, I just want to throw out my elevator encouragement to you, elevator pitch, in terms of what we're doing that makes me feel better. It's advocating. A lot of people talk about getting into schools. We're doing it. We've been in 300 schools. We're scaling. Thanks, brother. I told Miss Carter last night, I said, look, scale or fail. If we don't go warn these kids, they're going to die. What's the alternative? We have to scale, and we have to warn them. Our assembly is kind of a commodity of information. It's like the latest stats, how to recognize and respond to an overdose. We do measure them before and after with a survey. And we do naloxone training, but the linchpin, we show a movie, versions of Dead on Arrival, and there's some others that we've done, and it depends on the audience. If you're in a more of an urban setting, you're going to have a different movie because and we have speakers from the community that we speak to, and we lock in, and kids are locked in. Like, principals will get up and they'll say, they'll berate the kids, kind of like that old Cheech and Chong, where it's class, please shut up. And I'm like, don't say that. Don't use a parent voice. I have a way to make them just go dead quiet. And the principal will be like, how? And I'll be like, you don't want to know, because you don't want it to ever happen to you. And all I do is get up. It doesn't matter, public school, private school, charter. All I say is, like I'm Ward Cleaver, like some idiot. Hey guys, I'm here on a sad mission. And they get a little quiet, and I say, I lost my son to this. I point to the screen, which you're about to show them. 9 o'clock in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. They're like, that's not funny at all. And they lock in and they listen. We have a riveting presentation. Anyways, we're doing it. We're getting out there. Fentanyl Fathers is worked. But I noticed, I was a guest speaker a couple years ago in Florida, and right in the middle of the speech, something happened to me. Happiness came running right up alongside me. I hadn't been happy in 10 years. It was an old friend. I hadn't seen that guy. You can't go get it. It comes running up alongside you when you're doing the right thing, or you're in the right space. And I realized that advocacy was a path of happiness. The trick is getting into the schools. I do community events. Nobody shows up. You can advertise it, do the night thing. They don't show up. Kids, all they know is that, hey guys, in 5 minutes, I need all the juniors and seniors down in the auditorium, okay? All right. That's all they know. Unless they get some opt-out notice. We go in, we tell our story. It's disciplined 45 minutes, because you got to play ball with the school assembly. And when they leave, kids come up crying, hugging, as if it just happened to them. Many of them, as Jim was sharing, know somebody who died from fentanyl poisoning. Like, I'll get 10 to 40 hands every class, that's been affected. We say, I'll never try, so I'll never die from fentanyl at the end of it. We give them a free book called Victoria's Voice, a hard copy. We work with the Victoria's Voice Foundation. We give that out. It addresses the fact that these kids are depressed and anxious as they scroll through their phones looking at, I'm in recovery, so one of the things we say in recovery is, grant me serenity over things I can't change. Well, if you're scrolling your phone for 3 hours a day, those are 3 hours of stuff you can't change. And it makes kids feel helpless, victimized, and they get anxious and depressed. 50% of them are. And this book addresses that. Unfortunately, Victoria died of an overdose. And then her mom, Jackie Siegel, lost her sister this year to fentanyl poisoning. And so Jackie is all in. She just had this play open up on Broadway called The Queen of Versailles. And it's kind of a silly, take on her reality show when she was building the largest home in America. And Jackie's like, man, I'm so over that shallow life. I almost left this world having done nothing. Now all I want to do is save lives. So she's all in, and I'm thrilled. The other thing we do is we tell people to go to the bottom of fentanylfathers.org and download a free book called 1001 Great Comebacks to Peer Pressure. Real zingers, real in-your-face comebacks to make the person trying to make you go down this road with a side of death to feel like a complete moron that they are. And it's like saying no to drugs, but with style points. And so kids like it. It's working. The trick is getting into schools. So we have this new training thing, and we created a kind of a pathway to do it. It's called Angel Army. If you ever want to get involved with us or get the training how to open up a school, go to angelarmy.com and just let us know who you are, and we'll get a hold of you and let you know when we schedule the next workshop. The trick is getting into schools, but I want to encourage you with this, and I guess I'll end with this. We've got this one guy who's opened up 100 schools in Michigan. His name is Mike Gillette. He's 70 years old. He's by his own admission, a boring guy. He just is not a thrilling guy. And he talks in that parent voice that is kind of annoying to kids. But he's opened up 100 schools because he's systematic about it. He opens up his first letter to the school principal. My name is Mike Gillette, and on January 22nd, 2022, my wife and I found my son Brian dead on his bedroom floor. It's the opening sentence. You can't not read the rest of that short note. He gets an appointment with the school, and then he runs it, closes it on the next letter. And he's done 100 schools. It's doable. It's completely doable. If we don't do it, we're going to have another 100,000 dead kids. It's not okay. It's our job. Like, we're it. There is a nice program running called Make America Fentanyl Free. President's doing a great job with that. It's an awareness program, but when you get in the face of these kids, they're locked in. At the end, we say, is it fair to say this for my son Drew and for these other kids that you heard about? And they're like, yeah, that's fair, because you're going to ask them to talk after you, and you're up there like the guy, the motivational speaker who lives in a van down by the river. So I'm like, let's just say I'll never try, so I'll never die from fentanyl. We say that together. I throw the mic at them, and they're locked in. I do one of these. I'm like, you're fentanyl free and fentanyl certified. Come get your free book, and go out and advocate. We leave them with something called SAFE, Students Advocating Fentanyl Education, so they can start their own chapter, practice the comebacks, make sure everybody knows where the naloxone is. It's our job to tell these kids, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? The price of not doing it, there's more going to die. And what's the price of that? What we've experienced. The death of a child is like, forget about it. It's number one. I heard from my buddy over here, Paul Martin, who's doing a great job. He did a great job at the walks, by the way. Fantastic. He's on April's board. Paul Martin's a rock star. And he told me that all the studies, all in, psychologists say the loss of a child is by far the number one pain any person can endure in this life. So, you're number one. You wanted something today. But let's get out and fix this problem. It's within our control to do that. Thank you so much.